as I said initially, is ADA covers on the disability coverage. It covers the visual impairments, hearing loss, and motor impairments. And there are certain tools that can help us in covering this disability coverage. A screen reader tool, captioning software tool, or we can have special keyboards or mouse which can help us test this coverage. Now, more on these tools, what I've done is I've created 4 scenarios which can help you know as in how this tool works. Any questions so far? It is leverage. It is leverage. So what happens is all the tools that, JAWS, as you said, that you work on, it works only on Windows and certain things. You cannot have a Linux thing coming and you can use your JAWS tool there. So what I've done in the last slide is, with my research, what I've done is the most commonly used accessible tools available across operating systems and guidelines I've marked. I've also marked the market share around that. So you can see that slide.
What are the accessibility options currently deployed on the website for, if you are using the operating system currently for accessibility, then what are the websites actually providing in terms of accessibility options?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
I mean, the website is their own functionality.
Part of operating system, okay. Website development phase, huh? Tool deployed at the testing phase and go back to the development phase. This is what has to be done. So whatever we are speaking is on the testing side. So I'm not aware of anything that is available at the test development phase. Okay, this is the first scenario using JAWS or any screen reader software tool. So what a screen reader tool does is it scans the application once installed, reads the application from left to right, top to bottom, and reads aloud the information. Okay. So while doing so, it internally uses an engine called as TTS, that is text to speech. So users who are unable to read it can hear the information. So it is mainly used for visually impaired users. I've marked the standards that they are supporting. Also on the operating system that you spoke, I've marked the tools that is available across the different operating systems. Like JAWS is for Windows, Voice over Mac OS, and Speaker for Linux. The second scenario is, I don't know why the text is small for some. No, I don't know. I had the slide that I'm seeing over here that I had shared with them is on. It was not my purpose of having it. So anyways, the second scenario that I wanted to tell you guys was on the voice recognition software. So what happens is you speak the command instead of typing it. So users who have difficulty in typing with some learning disabilities like dyslexia can use a mic and command it. So they'll say open a folder, open a document instead of typing it. The two advantages that I see, clear advantages, one is speed, because you're not typing it, you're speaking. So that is a speed advantage. Second is hands-free computing. Again on the coverage, it covers 2.0, 508 and ADA. There are good tools available from Dragon Natural Speaking and Talking Desktop. Any questions on these scenarios? No, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, hello. So in certain web-based applications, we do have options of doing some transactions.
Right.
And in those area, we do have a functionality where we read some text out of an image and input it in a text box. To validate that a machine is not doing the transaction, it's an actual human being doing the transaction. So in such cases, how do we convert this non-functional requirement into a usability scenario?
You are saying of CAPTCHA and things like that. So
Absolutely.
the word comes in and this. So the scenario that I am speaking is on using tools, accessibility tools. Now let me tell you one thing. Accessibility testing can be done using three ways, three techniques. One is using tools, one is manual, and the third is combination of both. Okay? The one that you are speaking is a manual approach. We cannot have an automated tool for some random data being thrown. Okay. So two questions that I got. One is how do you validate? Second is the industry that accessibility is getting, right? I'll take your second question first. I have 5 clients now in Hexaware that I am catering to in accessibility, out of which 3 are education related, okay, and 2 are banking. So on industry front, I think that is what I see. And there are a couple of more opportunities that I am working on, and again on this sector only. How do you validate it? Now see, when you start with an accessibility approach, the first thing that you do in the requirements gathering phase is decide on the guidelines that you are going to do, or the guidelines that you are going to cover. For example, if I get a requirement, then I see this requirement maps to WCAG 2.0. Okay? Now 2.0 internally will have many checkpoints and success criteria. Okay? What my team does is, or we do is, we will create test scenarios for each of that checkpoints. So that is one way of seeing what we are going to get from the tool and what we are expecting is right or not. We'll get this documented. We'll start executing it once the tool gets installed. And once we have that result output, we'll compare it. This is the way we validate it practically today. Agreed to the point that one needs to get acquainted to the way the tool speaks. And it is very funny, if I don't know people who have seen how JAWS tool normally speaks out, it is very, you will actually have to invest time in understanding how the tool speaks to you. So there is an investment time there. So but once you get acquainted to it, you get actually, then it's a daily job for you. Does it answer you to some extent? So we don't do a UAT for accessibility to make them sit with us and say, okay, this is what we have heard, are you hearing the same thing? No. Are you typing the same thing? So this is what I was answering to him also. We try and get users with the same disabled group in our group, so that we get a feeling, as in, actually, see, it's more of a perception here. This is what I think. This is what that user might think because he's not able to perceive that. Welcome. This one more scenario. In fact, the second last scenario here. I need to move fast because it's just 10 minutes remaining. This is again one tool which zooms up the text in the screen. So what happens is, if you use a zoom text tool, screen magnification tool, it interfaces with your graphical output and it provides a larger display content to you. Again, people who are not able to visualize properly, visually impaired users, find it more useful here. The content of the slide is too distorted, I don't know. I don't have it. This laptop does not have a tool installed. And the fourth and the last scenario is the captioning software. This I am sure many of you would have seen. So the sound and the music that is happening in the background, you will have the text going on. So the most common tool that I've worked and I've also seen is Bobby. And again, people who cannot are having hearing disabilities or issues in hearing are the ones who actually go for this kind of scenarios. Yeah. Both. One that I am working on is for the internal portal as well, wherein the students registered at the UK university can internally use it, and plus the students who are willing to enroll in that university can also use it. So we are catering to both. I don't know. No, I have not tested Flipkart.
Well, basically, any job site or any e-commerce site.
So the best way to check this is, I'll tell you what, guys. Wave is the best tool. Just type Wave. You'll get a free web accessibility tool. Okay. Wave. W-A-V-E. Okay. It's a simple tool. It asks for that link.
Okay.
Go there and type www.flipkart.com and say enter.
No, but accessibility is an important factor. Flipkart and big sites are not using this.
Correct. Mainly, as I see, it is more in US because the laws that we just talked of, it's more on the federal law that is compelling them to do it. And the lawsuits that is filed, unfortunately, nothing has been filed in India.
Well, basically, the reason is in India it's not mandatory for a site to be inaccessible.
There are no web accessibility sites.
Okay. There. No, but IRCTC is not accessible.
So this is the approach in nutshell. I'll just run quickly. So this is a typical approach that we have on testing lifecycle anything. But what I've tried doing is trying put some accessibility flavor here. So we'll start with the requirements NFR gathering. Two main things that we'll do here is decide the checklist, decide the usability groups that we are going to target. We'll go into the test strategizing phase in which we'll decide the tools that we are going to target, and we'll look into the test lab setup that we are going to do. We'll go into the test planning phase, decide on the business flows, create test cases for each business flow. We'll go and set up the test environment setup, test lab. In the last two phases, we'll execute and start looking into results and checking against the accessibility compliance that we are actually looking into. And finally, we'll provide a detailed analysis report back to the development team. And this is the last slide that I have. Though I said this was entirely pertaining to web, this slide I have made it for web and mobile. And this is again not the complete list of accessibility tools available in the market. These are some tools that I've worked on and some that I've read. I've marked these tools as per the market share that is currently available. I have also marked them as per the license, that is whether it is open source or commercial, and the compliance against the guidelines in the different operating systems. So with this, I come to an end, and I'd like to take any questions if any. Yeah. Cognitive impairments. Okay. Cognitive impairments, as I said, are users who are not able to focus on large amount of information. So the way we were doing it is, see, there are websites which will say you have 5 minutes to register and the time starts. Okay, and after some time, when it is like 1 minute, there is again some alarm coming and saying you have just 1 minute left. Cognitive users don't understand this. If you have a website and you have a large amount of cognitive users using it and you have some kind of timekeeping, it won't work. So the way we do it is, we see normally whether any website has a time tracking tool there. So if that's a clear no-go for a cognitive user. Right. Correct. Yeah, one way is, you know what, the one way other is, if it is very mandatory to have a site of an session end time, you have to come up with innovative way of making the user know that you have just this minute left. For a normal user, what happens is, if 5 minutes is the time, at the end of 2 minutes you will again remind him. You give him normally a grace period of 3 minutes. For this user, after every minute you will probably have to pop up with something, saying you have completed 1 minute, 4 minutes remaining. So it has to be more elaborative, more loud to them. Because the way they capture information as compared to a normal user are different. So again, for this there are different, I think, guidelines which actually targets this, which says there has to be a very clear reminder for cognitive users.
Any more questions?
Correct. But your business group will know, right, who are your users' target. So what happens is, I'll tell you what, the way we do it is, if an RFP comes in and we say that the user group basically has a potential cognitive users of 5%, and you see the user group moving to 2,000 by end of this year. So we'll have this and make it mandate for the entire 2,000 users.